Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. My name is Ethan, and this is the story of how I lost my wife. Even though she was still alive. People say death is the hardest goodbye. They're wrong. The hardest goodbye is when the person you love is standing right in front of you, but looks at you like you've never existed. 5 years ago, I met the love of my life. Her name was Olivia. She wasn't the loudest person in the room. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She simply had the kindest smile I'd ever seen. We met at a small bookstore on a rainy Saturday afternoon. I was reaching for the last copy of a novel when another hand touched it at the same time. "I'm sorry," I said, pulling my hand back. She laughed. "No, I think we both found it first." The elderly shop owner smiled. "You two can settle this over coffee." Neither of us expected that joke to become reality. An hour later, we were sitting in a tiny cafe across the street. We talked about books, movies, travel, childhood dreams. When the cafe announced it was closing, neither of us noticed. 3 months later, we had our first date. 1 year later, I proposed beneath the same oak tree where we had shared our very first picnic. She cried before I even opened the ring box. "Yes," she whispered, "I'll marry you." Our wedding wasn't expensive. We couldn't afford anything fancy, but it was perfect. We danced barefoot under strings of lights in my parents' backyard. Everyone kept saying we'd grow old together. I believed them. The first 3 years of our marriage felt like a dream. Every Sunday morning, Olivia insisted we make pancakes together. She always burned the first one. On purpose. She called it the practice pancake. Every anniversary, we returned to that little bookstore where we first met. We even bought the same novel every year. She said, "One day we'll have an entire shelf filled with the same story." Our house was small. Our car was old. Money was tight. But we laughed more than we worried. Then came October 14th, the day everything changed. It had been raining since morning. Olivia called me while I was leaving work. "Don't forget," she laughed. "We still have to buy ingredients for pancakes tomorrow." "I won't forget." "I love you." "I love you more." Those were the last words she remembered saying to me. 20 minutes later, a truck ran a red light. It slammed into the passenger side of our car. The police later said we were lucky to survive. Lucky. It didn't feel lucky. When I woke up in the hospital, my shoulder was broken. 3 ribs were fractured. But I only cared about one question. "Where's Olivia?" The nurse smiled gently. "She's alive." I closed my eyes in relief. Then the doctor walked in. "There has been a head injury." "She's awake." "But she's experiencing memory loss." I hurried to her room despite the pain. She looked beautiful, just as she always had. I reached for her hand. "Liv." She looked at me, confused. Then she quietly asked, "I'm sorry. Who are you?" At first, I thought she was joking. I laughed nervously. "It's me. Ethan. My husband." She looked frightened. Then she pressed the call button. "Nurse." I don't know this man. In that moment, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The doctors explained that Olivia remembered her childhood, her parents, her college years, but the last 5 years of her life, including our meeting, our wedding, our marriage. I thought she was joking. I laughed nervously. "It's me. Ethan. My husband." She looked frightened. Then she pressed the call button. "Nurse." I don't know this man. In that moment, my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The doctors explained that Olivia remembered her childhood, her parents, her college years, but the last 5 years of her life, including our meeting, our wedding, our marriage. The next morning, I stood outside Olivia's hospital room holding 2 cups of coffee. One black, one with vanilla cream. Her favorite. Then I remembered. She didn't know it was her favorite anymore. I smiled sadly and took a sip myself. When I walked in, Olivia looked up from the book she was reading. "You came back." "I told you I would." She studied me for a moment. Why? I laughed softly. Because that's what people do for the ones they love. She looked away. I wish I remembered loving you. So do I. But I'm willing to wait. A few days later, Olivia was discharged from the hospital. Her parents wanted her to move back in with them while she recovered. The doctors agreed. They thought familiar surroundings might help. As I helped carry her suitcase to the car, she stopped me. Ethan. Can I ask you something? Anything. Were we happy? I smiled without hesitation. We weren't perfect. We argued over silly things. You always left the kitchen lights on. I always forgot where I put my keys. You stole my fries every time we ate out. She laughed. I did. Every single time. And after stealing half of them. You'd tell me yours tasted better. For the first time since the accident, she laughed the way I remembered. It lasted only a few seconds, but it gave me hope. Weeks passed. I didn't pressure her. I didn't ask if she remembered. Instead, I created new memories. Every Saturday, I invited her to places we had once loved. Sometimes she said yes, sometimes she politely declined. Whenever she did come, I treated it like a first date. I opened doors for her, brought flowers. Listened more than I spoke one afternoon. We visited the bookstore where we'd first met. She picked up the exact same novel that had brought us together years ago. She smiled, I don't know why, but I feel like I've held this book before, I smiled to myself, you have, She looked at me curiously. I wish I could remember, so do I, but maybe we don't need yesterday to enjoy today, She didn't answer. Instead, she bought the book the following week. I invited her to a small farmer's market. As we walked past the flower stalls, an elderly woman smiled at us. What a beautiful couple, Olivia immediately replied, oh, we're not together, The word stung, but I forced a smile. Not yet, the elderly woman laughed. You'd better hurry then. Young man, Olivia laughed too. Later that afternoon, she asked, does it hurt? What? That I don't remember, I looked at the sky before answering, every day, but loving you has never been about choosing the easy road, She quietly took my hand only for a second. Then she let go, still. That single moment meant more to me than she could ever know. Months passed, slowly. Our conversations became easier. Our laughter became more natural. She began texting me first, calling just to ask how my day had been. One evening, she surprised me. Ethan. Would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow? I smiled. I thought you'd never ask. The restaurant she chose was small, warm, filled with soft music. Halfway through dinner, she suddenly frowned. What is it? I asked. She rubbed her forehead. I just... I had the strangest feeling. What kind of feeling? I looked at you across the table. And for 1 second, it felt familiar. My heart nearly stopped. She closed her eyes. I saw flashes. A picnic. A ring. Rain. They disappeared before I could understand them. I reached across the table. Don't force it. She nodded. But I want to remember. For the first time since the accident, hope felt real, but neither of us knew that someone from Olivia's past was about to return. Someone who believed he deserved a second chance. Someone who would do anything to make sure she never remembered me. The next morning, my phone rang just before sunrise. It was Olivia. Her voice sounded shaken. /Ethan. // can you come over? // I'll be there in 10 minutes. // When I arrived, she was standing on her parents' porch, holding an old photo album. I found this in a box. She opened it. Every page was filled with pictures of us. Our first vacation. Our wedding. Our first Christmas together. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I still can't remember any of it. But every time I see these pictures, my heart tells me I should. Before I could answer, a black car pulled into the driveway. A tall man stepped out. He looked confident. Too confident. He walked straight toward Olivia. Liv. She frowned. Do I know you? He smiled. I'm Ryan. We dated in college. I noticed the way he ignored me completely. Olivia searched her memory. Oh. I remember you. Ryan smiled wider. I heard about the accident. I wanted to make sure you're okay. Something about him felt wrong. Very wrong. Over the next few weeks, Ryan kept appearing. He brought flowers, expensive gifts, coffee. He always arrived when I wasn't around. One afternoon, Olivia admitted something that made my stomach tighten. Ryan says we only broke up because of bad timing. He thinks we deserve another chance. I took a slow breath. And what do you think? She looked down. I don't know. I don't remember choosing you. But I don't remember choosing him either. That night, I couldn't sleep. For the first time since the accident, I was afraid of losing her forever. Not because she'd stopped loving me, because she couldn't remember ever loving me. A few days later, Ryan invited Olivia to lunch. She told me about it beforehand. I think I should hear what he has to say. I forced a smile. You should make your own decisions. Even if they broke my heart. That afternoon, I sat alone in our house. I looked at the wedding photos hanging on the wall. I wondered, would they soon become memories only I believed in? Late that evening, Olivia knocked on my door. She looked upset. What happened? I asked. She stepped inside. Ryan spent the entire lunch talking about the future. He kept saying I should stop living in the past. I stayed silent. She looked directly into my eyes. But Ethan, every time I'm with him, my mind feels calm. But my heart feels empty. She paused. Every time I'm with you, my heart races. My hands shake. I feel safe. I don't understand why. I smiled softly. Maybe. Your heart remembers what your mind forgot. She stared at me for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. She reached into her purse and pulled out a tiny silver key. I found this in my jewelry box. It has your initials on it. I think it belongs to you. I laughed quietly. No, it belongs to both of us. She looked confused. I took her to our old apartment, the apartment we had shared before the accident. Most of our things were still there. I unlocked a small wooden chest hidden inside the bedroom closet. Olivia gasped. Inside were hundreds of little notes folded into colorful paper stars. What's this? I smiled. Whenever one of us had a bad day, we wrote a reason we loved the other person. We folded the note into a star and promised never to read them until our 25th anniversary. Olivia carefully unfolded one. It was written in her handwriting. I love Ethan because he always pretends not to notice when I steal his fries. She covered her mouth. Another note. He still kisses my forehead every morning, even when he's running late. Another. If I ever lose my way, I hope I can always find my way back to him. Tears streamed down her face. She whispered, I wrote these. You did. She looked at me and suddenly grabbed her head. Pain shot across her face. Fragments flashed through her mind. A rainy bookstore. A snowy bridge. A wedding dance beneath glowing lights. Our first apartment. Our honeymoon. She collapsed into my arms, crying. I remember. Not everything. But I remember you. I held her as tightly as I could. For the first time since the accident, I wasn't holding a stranger. I was holding the woman who had begun finding her way home. Chapter 4, Finding Our Way Back. Olivia collapsed into my arms. She was shaking. Tears streamed down her face. I remember. She whispered. The bookstore. The rain. Our wedding. But everything feels broken. I gently brushed the hair away from her face. You don't have to remember everything today. I'm just happy you're here. For the next few weeks, Olivia began attending memory rehabilitation sessions. The doctors warned us that memories might return slowly. Some would come back clearly. Others might never return at all. One afternoon, while cleaning our old apartment, Olivia found a dusty cardboard box labeled, "Open when we turn 40. She smiled. I don't remember making this. I laughed. I wasn't supposed to remember either. Together, we opened it. Inside were dozens of little treasures. Movie tickets from our first date. A dried flower from the day I proposed. Our honeymoon boarding passes. A tiny baby shoe. Olivia frowned. A baby shoe. I swallowed hard. There was something I never told you. She looked at me. A year before the accident. You were pregnant. Her eyes widened. We were only 10 weeks along. The doctors couldn't save the baby after the crash. I laughed. I wasn't supposed to remember either. Together, we opened it. Inside were dozens of little treasures. Movie tickets from our first date. A dried flower from the day I proposed. Our honeymoon boarding passes. A tiny baby shoe. Olivia frowned, but I laughed. I wasn't supposed to remember either. Together, we opened it. Inside were dozens of little treasures. Movie tickets from our first date. A dried flower from the day I proposed. Our honeymoon boarding passes. A tiny baby shoe. Olivia frowned. Silence filled the room. She slowly sat on the floor. I was going to be a mother. I nodded, unable to speak. She cried quietly. Not because she remembered, but because she could feel the weight of a life she had once dreamed about. That evening, we drove to a peaceful hill overlooking the city. For the first time since the accident, we talked about the child we never had. We were going to name her Lily, I said. Olivia smiled through tears. Lily. I like that name. We planted a tree for her. I've been taking care of it every month. She reached for my hand. Can we go see it? The next morning, we visited the small memorial garden. A young maple tree stood gently swaying in the breeze. At its base was a simple wooden plaque. Forever loved, Lily. Olivia knelt beside it. She rested her hand against the trunk. I'm so sorry. I wish I could remember you. A single tear rolled down her cheek. I knelt beside her. You don't have to remember. You already love her. She leaned against me. And for the first time, neither of us cried because of what we had lost. We cried because we had found each other again. A few days later, Ryan appeared one last time. He stood outside Olivia's parents' house holding flowers. I know you're confused, he said, but you deserve someone who isn't tied to your past. Olivia looked at him calmly. I was confused. But not anymore. Ryan frowned. She stepped closer. I may not remember every single day of my marriage, but every day I'm creating new memories with Ethan. And every new memory reminds me why I chose him. Ryan lowered his head. I understand. Before leaving, he smiled sadly. I hope you're happy. Olivia squeezed my hand. I already am. That night, we returned to the bookstore where we had first met. The elderly owner recognized us immediately. I've been wondering when my favorite couple would come back. Olivia smiled. I think we are starting over. The owner handed us the last copy of the same novel that had brought us together years ago. I laughed. Looks like we are fighting over the last copy again. Olivia grinned. No. She slipped her hand into mine. This time, we'll share it. As we walked out of the bookstore together, the rain began to fall. Just like the day we first met. She stopped walking, looked into my eyes. and softly whispered the words I had dreamed of hearing for months. I love you, Ethan. I may not remember every chapter, but I know I want to spend the rest of the story with you. I smiled through tears, then kissed her beneath the rain. Sometimes, love isn't about remembering every moment. Sometimes, it's about choosing the same person, again, and again, and again, to be continued in the final chapter.